You've probably seen someone hook a discrete GPU to a mini PC a million times. But have you ever wondered if mini PCs have a hard cap on how many discrete GPUs a modern mobile CPU mini can actually handle? Today we're finding out, using every GPU adapter and slot this little box will let me abuse. Today's patient is a straight-up monster with the most powerful integrated graphics you can get in a CPU right now. This Duke Nuke box, courtesy of GMKtec for a totally honest and absolutely incorruptible review, obviously. But hey, I figured experiments are way more fun than a plain review. Especially when it comes with stickers shaped like a middle finger, politely suggesting you probably shouldn't plug a certain Chinese PC into the internet. This is the EVO-X2. Fun fact, no OCuLink port, but it does have two USB4 ports, so in theory you can attach at minimum and at maximum 2 GPUs. The power brick is 230 watts, which won't even feed one decent GPU. So let's crack it open and see how many cards we can physically cram in here. There are sneaky stickers hiding 6 screws that hold the mini PC's aluminum armor on. To reach them 2 slots, we only need to pull 4 of them. Then the armor lifts right off. Aluminum! Inside we've got a 120mm fan, RGB of course, I'll check later if it actually helps temps. We've got 2 M.2 Gen 4 X4 slots, clearly meant for strapping on ridiculous GPUs, not, boring SSDs. Anyway, here's what I'm working with, links in the description. This is an M.2 OCuLink adapter. It costs peanuts, but lets you hook a gaming GPU to basically anything with an M.2 slot. That is, assuming there aren't any hidden limits. So we're about to see if it plays nice with a mobile Ryzen. Looks pretty clean. Only one cable sticking out of the mini PC. For the smoke test, I'm plugging in a dock armed with an RTX 4060. That's plenty for a sanity check. The lid obviously isn't going back on without modding the chassis, but honestly, that's even better. Less weight, and hey, the RGB actually shows. And just like I hoped, it detected the GPU! So at least one discrete card works here. As for the mini PC itself, folks in the know realize the real menace isn't the discrete GPU, it's the iGPU baked into the CPU. While Nvidia only dropped the 50 series, we're rocking the 80 series in here. You can even carve out 96 gigabytes of system RAM as VRAM. It does run hot and it's loud, but it doesn't throttle. While we're at it, I tried installing Windows 11 Pro N on an external SSD. What does the N even stand for? Drop it in the comments. The Windows installer sees the external SSD as a flash drive. Makes sense over USB. But I wasn't expecting that curveball. As a seasoned programmer, I tried a more surgical workaround. Still no dice. Damn it! Looks like we're doing Windows via Rufus with the Windows to go to hell option. And yes, you get why we need Windows on the external SSD, because the internal one won't be there. Then I decided to test another M.2 adapter. Don't laugh, this was before I evolved enough to realize you can just swap the adapters and everything fits. Should have asked AI how to do it right, but do you know what's the most annoying thing about AI these days? Every week there's a new model out, and suddenly you're stuck wondering, which one is better? Which subscription do I need? And where do I even test them all? What if you didn't have to choose at all? Mammoth.ai puts all the top AI models in one place. GPT-5, Claude, Gemini, Llama, Mistral, DeepSeek, and even the latest image generators. And it's only €10 a month. One account, endless possibilities. Want to compare multiple models on the same prompt? Just one click. Got files or images? Upload them and get instant analysis. Need flexibility? Use it on your phone, your laptop, or your desktop. And yes, you can even talk to AI in real time with voice conversations. Don't get stuck in the past like a mammoth. With Mammoth.ai, you'll always stay ahead at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. Try it today for just €10 a month. Link is right below. Alright, let's keep tearing this thing down. We're pulling the last 2 screws to pop off the rear armor plate. Inside is a twin turbo setup. No idea how many bars it's boosting, but it sounds fast. Quality! I'll leave the top cover alone for a sec. To yank the board out of the case, we've got to remove the cooler. So that's what I'm doing now. So many screws on these coolers. Looks like I'll have to rip off this tape too. Still not sure why it's even here. Oh man, mini heart attack. Turns out the tape is sealing vents so the blowers can build pressure. But right now it's only getting in the way of removing this tuned intake. They run off 12 volts, so yeah, you could swap them for a 120mm fan. To free the board, you have to undo the screws around the edges, but 2 of them are hiding under the heatsink, so we keep unscrewing. Oh, and these 2 as well. It peeled off pretty cleanly, didn't even shred a single thermal pad. Now check out this absolute unit of a GPU that doubles as a CPU. The heatsink has 3 copper heat pipes, good for about 120 watts. And the weight, 464 grams. The VRAM is Hynix, same pool as system memory, totaling 96 gigabytes. The GPU with CPU duties die has a name to match. 2 chiplets, 8 cores each, so 16 cores, 32 threads. This gray stuff is phase change thermal material, so if you break the seal, you should replace it. It won't perform the same after that. See how stubborn it is to peel off? That's because when it's cold, it behaves more like a thermal pad. Go on, guess which ones are the CPU chiplets and which die is the GPU. Obviously, the big die is the GPU. That's why it pushes close to 100 degrees Celsius. Smaller dies equals nastier heat density and harder heat removal. Finally yanked this cursed M.ATX board out of the case. Yep, actual M.ATX dimensions. Let the chassis catch its breath while I slap on some regular thermal paste. I'm curious how many VRAM phases this Wonderwaff has. Drop it in the comments if you know, while I bolt the heatsink and blowers back on. All set! The bare board weighs only 900 grams, which means all the other protected bits were a chunky 770 grams. Now that's weight savings. Honestly, we could leave it like this. Who needs heavy cases anyway? Now it's a real mini PC! Compare it to an SFF build. The difference is pretty obvious. I'm still debating whether this 120mm fan is even needed. What's it cooling here besides the caps? The vibes? Probably nothing, but I'll test it later. For the second slot, I've got this adapter. Link in the description. It wasn't exactly designed for GPUs, so it needed a few tasteful mods, which I've already done. It gives us 4 PCIe lanes, so we drop it in, hook up a 12-volt feed, and obviously you want a lightweight GPU here, ideally without the rear bracket. I already pulled it. Slide the card into the slot and boom! Rock solid! As reliable as Trump's End the War in 24 Hours plan. And since I don't want to tear this thing down 10 times, I'm also popping a GPU adapter into the Wi-Fi module spot. That header clearly exposes only a single PCIe lane. The only thing that matters is whether a GPU actually works through it. So adapters number 1, number 2, and number 3 are in. Now we wire up power. This tiny brick is plenty for the RTX 4060. And guess what? Both cards fired right up, and now we've got 3 gaming GPUs if you count the iGPU. All 3 are stable at the max bandwidth the slots will cough up. The third dGPU is a 2013 GTX Titan. Super convenient. It can run flat without the blower kissing the floor. Now we're rocking not 1, not 2, but 3 power supplies. That's so extra I poured a shot of
coffee. Coffee.
Kicked in fast, and I forgot to flip on the 4060's PSU. Switched it on, boom! All 3 GPUs are alive. Next up, drivers for our mighty 2013 era Titan. As soon as I installed them, the PC started freezing. Kept doing that until I reinstalled the RTX 4090 drivers. So it's not hardware, it's software. The box can run 3 GPUs, but the cards are generations apart and the drivers start beefing. If the third card were another 40 series, all 3 would be rock solid. ATA64 shows the system happily sees the Titan in slot 3. In theory, I could hang 5 GPUs off this mini PC. There are 2 more USB 4 ports that expose PCIe lanes. But I'm not demoing that because USB 4 eGPU docks cost a kidney. So the real limit on these Ryzens is simply PCIe lane count. For example, our Ryzen 395 has 16 of them, as you can see in the specs. And on other top mobile CPUs. Anyway, I decided to test 2 discrete GPUs I actually got drivers for, but I hit a snag. DirectX refuses to install properly on an external SSD. So I cracked open the external drive, pulled the M.2 out, and dropped it straight into the motherboard's M.2 slot. And dear Lord, the glue job on that SSD. You have no idea. Check out this finger. That's from trying to slice the adhesive with the razor just to pry it off. And the SSD still wouldn't boot. Apparently, if Windows was installed while it was an external, it won't play nice when you hook it up via SATA or PCIe. So I tried the reverse. Tossed the internal drive, the one with DirectX, into a USB enclosure. Same story. Long story short, doesn't work. By the way, the caps on the backside of the GPU get pretty toasty. So yeah, that fan isn't just for show. Here's my plan. The iGPU is no joke, so we can mess with that too. I'll button the rig back up and show you what a GPU with 96 gigabytes of VRAM can do. We need to seal these little openings. Easy fix with Captain Tape. Much better. Now the board goes back in the case. One moment. This is why I drink. Or maybe this keeps happening because I drink. No idea. Either way, it ticks me off. Hopefully the gremlins are done while we finish rebuilding this twin-turbo mini PC. Dang it, I forgot to hook up the Wi-Fi antennas. You have no idea how long I wrestled with those on a nearly assembled system. I'm leaving this little guy in. Trust me, we'll need it later. In BIOS, it's super tempting to lock memory speed at 7500, but auto is actually the fastest here. 8,000 megahertz. Damn, this thing's quad channel. Now that's bandwidth. Also, only in BIOS can you choose how much memory to carve out for the iGPU. I'm going with 48 gigabytes, and here's why. A 120 billion parameter LLM runs ridiculously fast on this box, about 18 tokens a second. Just look at it rip. There's no way I'm loading that in an RTX 4090. It simply doesn't have the VRAM. By the way, you can overclock both the CPU and the iGPU on this EVO-X2. Not directly, of course, but with a little software assist. Link in the description. Works on a bunch of chips, even Intel. We're doing it via undervolting. Minus 40 megavolts is stable for me, which nets about plus 300 megahertz all core and over 1,000 plus points in the bench. Not bad at all. We're almost catching a desktop 13900K, as you can see. Internet lore says the iGPU is basically a desktop RTX 4060 with virtually infinite memory. Let's sanity check that in a couple games. Spoiler, not quite. 4060 still edges out our 8060S, even in cases where the 4060 runs short on VRAM. But maybe the mobile CPU is as beefy as a desktop 14900K? Also not quite. In some titles, the gap is small. In others, like Stalker, the 14900K is about 2 times faster. Workloads, though, our mini PC actually does great in. In DaVinci Resolve, my iGPU render speed landed around RTX 4090 levels, which is downright bonkers! I did not expect that from integrated graphics. Bottom line, this machine isn't really aimed at gamers given the price, though you can totally game on it. It shines for workloads and big LLMs. If it caught your eye, there are links and real, not fake coupon codes in the description. Good through the end of the month. Snag yourself a compact workhorse that can go toe-to-toe with a full desktop and plenty of pro tasks.